How's it going? Strife here, and this is the walkthrough for the underwater fractal. So the underwater fractal, overall it's pretty quick and easy. I still don't like it just because underwater combat's pretty boring and terrible in this game. But if you are going for a quick fractal and something that's a lot easier to do in pugs especially, the underwater fractal's a pretty good fractal to get overall. But this first section you'll see we're going to have icons on the mini-map which signifies the 3 captured villagers that we need to free. Each of the cages are guarded by the crates, so you do need to kill the crate before the cage becomes active. Now, as you see on Mesmer, I'm using Vortex, which is good for grouping up all the mobs, and then the warriors can follow with their Spear 5 skill, which will do quite a bit of DPS. Besides that, if you do get downed, the mobs, and especially the young barracudas that the crates spawn, enough mobs are dying where usually you'll be able to rally even if you do get down, so just try and stay alive until your team kills something. And then once we finish this first group, you'll see here a lot of the times that the cage, you won't be able to activate it. It's because for some reason one of the crate always gets bugged in the ceiling. Don't waste time trying to search for it though, because once we finish the 3rd cage, we'll come back here and it'll actually be unbugged. So you could just come back later. The second group, in my opinion, is the hardest thing of this whole fractal. So it's more crate than the first group, and they cast a bunch of poison fields. So you'll see there's like green tint in the water. You obviously want to avoid those because they do a ton of damage, especially at like 48. If you do get down, just try and survive again and then hope your team can kill something for you to rally. If you do wipe, it's not the hugest of deals because you'll get a checkpoint back at the start, which is like a 10-second swim to here, and everything that you killed prior to being wiped will stay dead. So at most, really, you should only wipe once, and then the second time will be a lot easier. So that does happen to me personally as well at like, usually not as much in 30 fractals, but at like 40 or 48. This part can get quite a bit harder. So you may wipe once in a while, but it's not a big deal in terms of the time you're going to lose. So that is the second cage that we're going to free the prisoner or the villager. And then this third group, comparably to the second group, is extremely easy because this one is just going to have like 3 or 4 veterans. And obviously they have more health, but they don't do any more damage. So since there's only 3 to 4, really you don't have any trouble wiping or dying on this section. So we'll just finish this part up and free the 3rd captured villager. So once we free this cage, we can go back to that first cage. You see it's still on the mini-map, and you'll see a crate will just be sitting there, just chilling. For whatever reason, he unbugs automatically out of the ceiling. And I'd say this probably happens like over 50% of the time. Seems like a crate is always getting bugged in the ceiling. So at that point you can get one of 2 paths. You can get deep waters, which we have now, or the Dolphin path, which is the underwater ruins. I'll actually show you both of them. I have some footage from another fractal run for the Dolphin. But deep waters is easier in my opinion, especially if you're all over a voice chat program. So what we do is we'll just swim down to the first orb that you need to pick up, luminous plant rather. So when you pick it up, you'll see I'll grab an orb. While you hold one of these luminous plants, you won't take any damage from the piranhas. If you don't hold an orb, then you're going to take damage. There are these checkpoints. You'll see the little volcanoes. These are safe spots where you can all group up. So at this point, what we do is we'll just count to 3 and all swim at the same time and just have one person grabbing the orbs. So right now, like in Ventrilo, I'll be counting 1, 2, 3, go, or 1, 2, 3, and then everyone will swim. So that way we can just keep going, and you don't really waste time on stragglers because there is only 1 or 2 luminous plants, so you'll have to wait for it to respawn. It takes maybe 10 seconds after someone picks it up. So if you aren't organized, if you're in a pug, you're going to have to wait a while, or if people get downed, then obviously they'll die. But doing it this way, you can get through this part pretty quickly overall. and it's not too big a deal. As long as one person makes it through, you will get the checkpoint, so anyone dead can just checkpoint to here. But you'll see here now I'm at the Dolphin path, so the first thing you want to do, have both Guardians use their retreat, and then with the Signet on the Mesmer you can give everyone like over 1.5 minutes of swiftness, which will be enough to get through this whole Dolphin sequence. Swiftness helps out quite a bit because you have no attacks here, you're pretty much outrunning Crate. So your number 1 skill, your first skill, is going to reveal Crate. So you'll see I'll use it constantly to reveal the Crate, like right there. Your second skill, or the number 1 on my bar, is basically a decoy, so you'll send it out and then you'll hit 1 again and it'll cause all the Crate to attack your decoy so you can swim past them. Then your third skill, or the number 2 on my bar, is just a dash type move. You really only need it for the end, so you'll see me use it at the end. Now the number 5 skill is a res. It's like an AoE res, so if anyone does die, you can res them up. Usually what we'll do is we'll just free-for-all swim it though. If someone dies like right in front of you, you can res them. But as long as one person gets to the end, everyone else who died behind you can just checkpoint there, so that's usually the method we do. This last part is the hardest, so you just want to use your decoy on the first group, and then usually I'll dash through the second group, and then try and use your evades as well. So I'll just like double evade there. And usually you can get through that part doing that method. And as you see, a couple people died behind us, not a big deal. We'll get through this portal and we'll be at the final Jellyfish boss, and then once the Jellyfish beast, his life bar is in the top right corner, everyone can just get the checkpoint and then we'll all spawn right here. So not a big deal overall. So as far as the Jellyfish beast goes, he is pretty boring and easy overall. There's a pretty generic boss rotation cycle. So the start of his cycle, he's going to do that electric move, which is going to stun anyone that is in melee range unless the Guardians use stabilities. So usually we'll try and get the Guardians to cycle their stabilities for that part. Besides that, it's going to spawn some Jellyfish which die extremely quickly. And then it's also just going to do a wind-up melee move, which you want to try and evade so you don't get knocked back and take damage from it. Every time it does its electric attack that stuns you, certain cages will become electrified in the area. If they're close, we'll bring the Jellyfish to them, which will do extra damage to the Jellyfish. If it's further, it's not worth wasting time trying to kite it to a cage. In those instances, we'll just stay in melee range. Now after the first 2 cycles, or about maybe 20% of his health, he'll start using his Agony move. The Agony move, it's pretty easy to see as well. It's this move right here. It'll start dipping and spinning, and then it'll rise quickly and then grab someone. For the Guardian Anchor skill, which is the number 5 skill on the Trident, and then the Mesmer number 5 skill as well, and then LE has one, and maybe one other class, but all those skills that sync a mob, they're not subjected to Defiant like other stuns and interrupts. So you can actually use those to interrupt the Agony attack. As far as Mesmer goes, so Mesmer, the cooldown on the sync skill is 25 seconds versus 20 seconds on the Guardian. So Mesmer won't always have their sync skill up, which means the Guardian needs to do their sync skill as well many times. And then here again, if you don't have your Guardians using stability, you're going to die there because you're going to get stuck in the electric. So it is important for your Guardians to call out if they don't have stability, which our Guardian didn't do there. But going back to the sync skills, so the sync skill for the Mesmer, it's about half the cast time as the Guardian, so it's easier to interrupt with the Mesmer compared to a Guardian. Guardian, you pretty much have to react right when that Agony move starts. So every other time the Mesmer can get it, which is pretty easy. And then when the Mesmer does have cooldown, you do want the Guardians to try and hit that interrupt so no one gets grabbed by the Agony attack. Besides that, so usually what I'll do on both Guardian and Mesmer is you can swap to your like more melee, higher DPS weapon while your Anchor skill is on cooldown, like Spear specifically for the Guardians, a lot better than the Trident. And then when you know that cooldown is almost up, you can just switch back to your Trident skill for the sync and get ready to interrupt that Agony attack. But overall, besides that, this boss is pretty easy. It's just a lot of auto attacking, dodging when you're targeted, and then using stability for this part. And if your guardians do have a bit quicker reaction time as well, you want them to try and use stability right before the electric hits you. So like when the jellyfish first starts the wind up for the electric attack. That way you won't get anyone stunned at all. But we'll just finish this jellyfish off here, and you can go pick up your chest, and that is going to be it for the underwater fractal. So thanks for watching.